ask that school committee member to consider what would make the most sense and to respond back within about a week, week and a half with what that committee member thought would be a responsible, appropriate next step. And that was really the end of it. There are a few things that could happen here, and I'll be quiet in a moment and let everyone have their comments, and then to the extent that we can respond either tonight or later, if you've left your contact information, I am happy to do that. I think the one thing nobody wants is to see a committee member resign from their work on the school committee. It's important work, it's volunteer work, but these are people who are elected to the position, and whether that person chooses to continue or not should really be in the hands of the people. Another option would be to remove oneself from working with that agency, with that student. And again, this is a school committee member who's built a very nice relationship with the family, and that's important. A third possibility, and again, I don't know the players here because I'm new and I don't know the nursing agency involved here, but I would imagine that approaching the nursing agency and explaining the situation and seeing if maybe the agency needed a little bit of time to find a replacement, and until that time, the committee member be able to still maintain their role in the school with an eventual end date to that I think would be a very reasonable stance. But again, those are not my decisions to make. I certainly would be open to any of those conversations from our school committee member. And so with that, I appreciate your attention to my explanation. I'll quiet down so that folks who have signed the paper can come up and make their comments.
So for public comment, this is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on agenda items, contribute information that may be of interest to the school committee, or ask clarifying questions. Please wait to be recognized and identify yourself before speaking. This is not the time to register complaints or promote a personal agenda. Please remember that you may not identify any person by name or job function. And we'd like to welcome Jolene Scoville.
My name is Jolene. I am Natalia Scoville's mother. The nurse works for an agency, which the superintendent does know the agency because she gave a letter and it stated the nursing agency. So that was a lie. And we shouldn't be here to lie. We should be here for the children. Being on the school board is not a power trip. You're elected to serve the children, the school, and the parents. And you should act like that. Sitting back here witnessing, watching you guys, watching especially two of you that I'm looking at with the power and the high and mighty, that's disgusting. The way you interact with people. You should be ashamed. Anyways, I'm here today to let this district know you pushed us too far. Your leadership has taken retaliatory action against our devoted private, you understand what private is? Employed nurse, targeting not only her, but my daughter. Our disabled daughter has been unable to attend school due to our nursing shortage. We have 3 nursing agencies, 3 that work for us. We just now have coverage after a year, have full coverage for overnights. We were blessed to have this nurse come on board and be able to send our daughter to school. We lost our Thursday nurse, it was December, and this nurse came on the end of January. So Natalia has missed 33 days of school, 33. And with 6 weeks left of school, she's gonna miss a total of 38 because she can't go on Thursdays. Because we were told not to have the nurse go. Everything was cleared well in advance when we hired the nurse. But suddenly, we went through the principal, we went through the assistant principal, we went through the teachers. They loved her. They had nothing bad to say. Nothing. But suddenly now, the school tells the nurse she can't be with Tally in the school, forcing our daughter to have to stay home and not receive an education. This goes against everything a school should stand for. All your flag signs about inclusion are proof of your hypocrisy on full display. There's a member that has gone into the school and taught, and that is a fact. You have no right to remove our nurse. She doesn't work for you. She doesn't work for the school. She hasn't done anything wrong, and your actions make my daughter suffer again because of this district. And it doesn't stop there.
I'd ask you to finish up your comments, please.
I have comments. Last fall, on November 5th, an incident in the science lab caused it to fill with smoke. Everybody get out of the school, except for my daughter. She was locked in the stairwell for an hour, where the smoke originated, having to withstand smoke, blaring alarms for nearly an hour. And the school tried to cover it up, blamed the fire chief. Each of my children have been a victim to your failed leadership. You have taken this too far. You've proven you're incapable to do what's right, and it's time to be held accountable. Not just for my children, but for every child that comes to Hermon. All the parents, they should be wanting to come to you and speak out, but they don't. Probably because you sit up there high and mighty and not caring.
Thank you for your public comment. Next up is Steve Thomas.
Good evening. I'd like to follow up on those comments. Let's be honest, the conflict letter that was sent out last month is all about retaliation and controlling the June election, not conflict of interest. Anyone who doubts this claim should ask, why now? I can provide many examples of real conflicts allowed by the school where no action was taken that prove this action is politically motivated. For example, I refer to policy BCC adopted May 2nd, 2016 on nepotism. Employment. It shall be the policy of the Hermon School Department not to employ as Hermon School Department staff any person who is a member of the immediate family of a Hermon School Committee member or of the superintendent. A recently elected school committee member has a daughter who is a teacher in the school.
I just want to remind you not to name any positions, please.
And ran his campaign. Where is the conflict letter? Next, under nepotism, is a section called supervision and evaluation. It states, no person shall be employed in or assigned to a position that is within the administrative supervision of a member of his or her immediate family, nor in a position in which he or she is supervised or evaluated in whole or in part by a member of his or her immediate family. I guess I'll leave it that there's a leader in the high school who was able to hire his wife in September of 21. Where's the conflict letter there? The school committee member that is being discussed here tonight has been providing medical care for this student at home and in school for months. The chair and vice chair have been unrelenting in their efforts to silence her regarding the religious discrimination lawsuit. And this letter shows that they will stop at nothing to accomplish this goal. Targeting an innocent student to hurt Mrs. Keyser, oh sorry, I wasn't supposed to mention her name, is a new low for the administration and school committee. I would encourage the administration to apologize to the student and Mrs. Keyser, as well as her employer. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd now like to welcome Ed Marsh.
Hi there, thank you. A lot of the information's already been stated, and I appreciate the superintendent giving background on this issue. My biggest concern is similar to what everyone has stated, is that it's not what happened, it's when it happened, and I do like the fact that you're stating that there's potential for option C or number 3. The student should not have to go through not being able to attend school while this gets worked out. If there's a conflict, there's a conflict. I don't have the answers to that. It just seems very disheartening that you start in January providing services, and I understand the superintendent is new and is probably looking at everything. But the committee members weren't, and they were here, and they were part of this. And that's the biggest concern I have, is not going, into the next year or anything like that, but the 7 more days that it appears the student could be impacted. That's the care here, is for the student, is to make sure that that student has the care that they need for the remainder of this term. Whatever goes on here, whether it's political, whether it isn't, it doesn't matter. It's all about this student. This school district has great educators, great teachers, does a great job for our students. I have 2 students, I have 2 children that went through this from K to 12. They're great. They got a great education. They live in the town. They bought houses in town. And I hope someday we'll have grandkids that come here as well. And I think it's important. Stop having the negativity take the focus off of the great achievements of the teachers and the staff that's here. So I ask that everyone come together and work to have this student have the services they need with whichever nurse they determine is the best fit, and try and get to that option 3. That's what I ask. And real quick, I also appreciate the fact that the greater community, I've got it wrong, been a while, for the lighting on the elementary school, please take advantage of that. If you look at the high school and you see what a great thing has been done, take advantage of that. Look at how much great it could be. So appreciate that you're looking into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Natalia Scoville.
Hi, I'm Natalia Scoville, and I'm 14 years old. I have OT, PT, and stuff, and speech, so whenever I miss school, I can catch up on my work and stuff. So you taking my right away from school is not really fun for me, because I'm missing out, and I have friends and stuff, and I really do love my nurse that I do have. And I was hearing how, I don't know who, but somehow someone was trying to get me a nurse, and I have medical needs I don't want a random person doing. And I have AD, called autonomic dysreflexia, which is a serious thing that not everyone can handle. I could have a stroke if it's not handled right away. And I know for a fact if something happens, my family will sue. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I just want you guys to know that. And when I finally got back in school, I was very happy. And no one had anything against her until after I can't really remember, but
Next up, Wayne Scoville.
I'm Wayne Scoville, Natalia's father. I just want to ask Dr. Sargent. The nurse had been in the school for a couple months, and then all of a sudden she can't go anymore. I mean, help me understand. I just don't get it. I talked to the principal, the assistant principal, the guidance counselor, and asked them, "Is everything going all right with this nurse?" They all said yes. You know, nobody ever voiced any concerns. I just don't understand what happened. You know, and I read the letter that you gave to the nurse, and it clearly states that you were informed. So obviously somebody told you. You know, you were fairly new, so you didn't know any of this. So why was she allowed to go for a couple months? You know, and I get that there's a statute. I read that. I'm not an attorney. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but help me understand why she could go for a couple months, but not now. I mean, we don't have, like my wife said, there's a nursing shortage. When Natalia doesn't go to school, I have to take her to work with me. You know, it's not easy. So, I don't know. But why was she able to go for a couple months and then, you know, not now? So that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Next up, Caroline DeMonica.
Hi, Caroline Delmonico, Hermon. I noticed in Dr. Sargent's commentary prior to us speaking that very little emphasis was put on the child, the student. There was a whole bunch of like logistical kind of like turning yourself into a pretzel to kind of justify the forced resignation of Haley as Natalia's nurse. Okay. And of all of the battles that you could have picked in this arena, I can't believe you picked this one. And so coming from my background of reviewing quality of services delivered to children, this is what I have to say. So this affects a child's right here in our community. A young student with significant physical disabilities depends on a registered nurse who is also a board member to attend school safely on Thursdays and Fridays. For 4 months, this nurse ensured this child could learn alongside peers. These nursing services were tailored to this child's unique needs and respected the family's role in decision-making, ensuring her education aligned with their shared goals. This was child-centered and family-driven care. This nurse's support and assistance allowed this child to thrive in a typical classroom rather than being isolated at home. It fostered inclusion and growth, and it was delivered right here in Hermon. Keeping a child connected to her school and peers. This was community-based care in the least restrictive environment for this kid. In rural Maine, where nurses are scarce, finding a replacement is extremely difficult. The forced removal of this nurse essentially robbed this child's access to education, undermining her progress and her inclusion. This student had accessible services and ensured that she could learn alongside peers, which did foster her inclusion, her dignity, and her growth. Schools, families, and agencies must work together to ensure seamless care for students who require it to succeed academically. Consistent, quality-driven care depends on this partnership. Hermon School's commitment to students must be to honor and accommodate any student's need for youth-centered, family-driven care that is accessible, community-based, in the least restrictive environment to ensure they can attend school safely and excel academically. I'd love to say that your actions to force this nurse's resignation reflected these high standards of quality care and education, but I can't. There was no consideration whatsoever to these principles when this decision was made. The students' well-being.
I'd like to ask for you to finish your public comment, please.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
The students' well-being and physical and mental health were not considered. Was the impact to her considered before you made this decision? I'd like to have an answer to that, please. I'll just say no, it wasn't, but, this wasn't because of a conflict of interest. This was a retaliatory action waged against Haley Keyser, and we all know it. For the last couple of years, this board has repeatedly and blatantly treated Ms. Keyser with contempt. You've been rude to her, inconsiderate, belittling, and downright ignorant to her. Bold and brazen, as though you think no one's observing your behavior, but we are. I urge this board to collaborate with the family and nurses agency to restore this child's nursing support. This decision did not reflect our values as a community. And I have one more question. I would like to know if there are statutory exceptions, where this derived from. Did a state official or the Department of Education notify you that this had to be terminated because it was illegal or complex? And I'd also like to know if you have the discretionary ability to make a waiver for this child to have her nurse back. Thanks.
Next up, we'd like to welcome Rick Burgess.
Rick Burgess, Krogan Road. I'm not a party to the situation. I don't know the Schofields. I do know most of the school board members. I began reading reports of what was taking place, making my own observations. I've called and spoken with several school board members. I called an attorney friend of mine to get an opinion. I researched the main statutes thoroughly. I've read them about 5 times. And I see nothing in the statute that prohibits school committee member from performing the service that this nurse is performing because she's not being paid by the school or anybody in the school. I'm not going to debate whether that's right or wrong. If there's evidence out there to the contrary, I'm certainly willing to listen to it. My point very simply is this: I don't think enough emphasis has been placed on the needs of this young lady. You've got a situation that seemed to have worked well for the last 3 or 4 months, and I would encourage the school committee to consider, one, allowing it to continue either on a permanent basis, or if not, at least a waiver for the completion of the school year so that she doesn't suffer and she can continue her education. I think you owe at least that much to her, and I'd like to see where you come from in terms of your reference and that there is a prohibition for what she's doing in the statute. I don't see it.
Thank you. Next up, we'll move on to resignations. We have 4 resignations, and we'll take them as stated on the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve Megan?
I wanted to know if she could come back up and talk. She remembered something she wanted to say.
Absolutely.
Also, being up in that stairwell was very scary, hearing loud sounds, because I suffer from PTSD, because when I was 3 years old, I was in a gun accident, and it nicked my spinal cord, and I only have one good arm, so I couldn't even really cover my ears to deal with the sound. And what was really sickening was they told me my grandparents knew about this and they were okay with it. And they told everyone that I was out there. And when I told my brother, he was willing to literally sacrifice his life to get off the UTC bus and go in that school and get me. And I can't even really breathe good if I'm sick and stuff because I don't have good lungs. So imagine what would have happened if that smoke got in my lungs. You really could have sacrificed my life. And what else is very, very sickening is saying that the firefighters were okay with me being in there. Now I'm done. Bye.
Dr. Sargent, I'd like to ask you to follow up on that, please. That's the first that I'm hearing of that, and so I would like to have that looked into right away, please.
Chair, may I just ask a question? I thought that the superintendent made a statement if I wanted to speak to what she was saying. Did she state that? Did she say that? Speak to the situation?
If folks have listed their contact information on the sign-up sheet, I'm happy to get back to people.
Did you know? I was asking, you stated at the end that if the committee member wanted to speak to the situation. So I'm asking for permission to address the situation or the historical context of how we got here. And if I don't do it here, I will do it elsewhere. So you're the chair, Madam Chair, I'm asking. Do you like me to address these, clarify for the committee where no one on this committee ever spoke to me other than Mr. Reynolds?
Well, in the letter, it stated to reach out to us, and so you hadn't. So I'd like to move on to
Actually,
the motion to approve
that's inaccurate.
the summer credit
That
recovery
isn't
program.
accurate. I gave my answer while I was in the office, that I would not be going anywhere. I gave my answer. In fact, when I emailed you and asked you about the letter and asked you to forward it to me, you said that you didn't know what I was talking about.
Because you asked for April 15th. We're going to now move on to,
Well, then I
Do
will
we
address
have
it.
a
I will
motion?
address it elsewhere.
do we have a motion to approve Megan Garby?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Let her talk, this is her power.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess, so we'll be back.
Let her talk. Whitney, wow.
You guys are a bunch of cowards.
Okay. So rude. Yeah.
Why are you working? You're gonna be so rude. Let's work together, not apart.
That one that just walked out should stay out.
Really upsetting.
We've already seen it, it was what, whatever you want. If you want to didn't raise their hand.
That's a good example for the students.
She couldn't even look at the girls when she was trying to talk. She didn't look at